The galactic preservation trail cut through the verdant jungle like a surgical incision, precise, artificial, and unmistakably human. Its gleaming white surface reflected the morning light of the twin suns, creating a stark contrast against the deep emerald foliage that threatened to reclaim it from both sides. Signs in 7 languages, including Standard Galactic, were posted every 100 meters. Remain on designated path. Class 4 Autonomous Ecosystem, by order of the Terran Xenobiological. Conservation. Corps Captain Marcus Reed had personally checked each sign before allowing any tourists onto the trail. This was his 15th season as head ranger on Epsilon Eridani IV, and he'd never had an incident. He intended to keep it that way. Remember, folks, he announced to the gathered group of interstellar tourists, this isn't just any jungle. This is one of only 12 known autonomous defense ecosystems in the charted galaxy. The plants, animals, and even the microbes here have evolved collective defensive measures that make Earth's most dangerous predators look like house pets. A blue-skinned Arcturian raised a tentacle. Then why allow tourism at all? Seems unnecessarily dangerous. Reed nodded. An excellent question. 2 reasons: scientific observation and funding for preservation. Your credits help us maintain this refuge and the artificial path you're standing on, which I cannot emphasize enough. You must never leave. The warning was procedural. No one had stepped off the path in decades. The stories were too well known. Among the group stood Ambassador Thomas Fletcher and his bodyguard, Agent Leah Ortiz. Fletcher was an important man, the newest human representative to the Galactic Council, and he knew it. He wore an expensive environmental suit despite Reed's assurance that the path's field projectors rendered such precautions unnecessary. Let's move along, Fletcher said loudly. I've got meetings in the capital tomorrow. Reed suppressed a sigh. Of course, Ambassador, but please remember the standard tour takes 4 hours. The ecosystem observation cannot be rushed. Fletcher waved dismissively and moved ahead of the group. Agent Ortiz followed close behind, her eyes constantly scanning the jungle. The tour proceeded smoothly for the first hour. Reed pointed out fascinating specimens, floating pollen structures that communicated through light patterns, carnivorous vines that hunted using electromagnetic sensing, and colonies of what appeared to be mobile fungi but were actually complex multicellular organisms. The most remarkable thing about this ecosystem, Reed explained, is its unified response to threats. Unlike Earth, where competition drives evolution, here cooperation dominates. The entire jungle functions almost like a single organism. Fletcher, growing increasingly bored, had drifted to the edge of the path and was peering into the dense growth. Doesn't look so dangerous to me, he muttered. Reed was about to respond when an emergency alert pinged on his wristband. One of the tourists, a wealthy merchant from Proxima B, had wandered 50 meters from the back of the group and was approaching the edge of the path. Excuse me, Reed said hurriedly. Continue forward slowly. I need to retrieve someone. By the time Reed reached the back of the group, it was too late. The merchant, a man named Dorian Wells, had stepped off the path. Just one step, his right foot sinking into the soft, inviting moss beyond the path's edge. Sir, freeze, Reed shouted, running toward him. Do not move. Wells looked back, confused. I just wanted a better picture of... The change in the jungle was instantaneous and horrifying. The pleasant ambient sounds ceased. The breeze died. The lush green foliage nearest to Wells darkened to a deep purple. Back on the path, now. Reed commanded, his voice cracking with urgency. Wells tried to step back, but his foot seemed stuck. I can't move. Reed activated his emergency protocol. A barrier shield hummed to life around the tour group, and an evacuation alert blared from his wristband. Everyone stay perfectly still, he ordered, then spoke into his communicator. Emergency Protocol Delta 7. Civilian breach at kilometer, marker 14. Requesting immediate extraction. Fletcher pushed to the front. What's happening? This is unacceptable. Ambassador, please be quiet, Agent Ortiz said firmly, her hand now resting on her sidearm. Reed approached the edge of the path as close as he dared. "Mr. Wells, I'm going to extend a rescue pole. Grab it when it reaches you, but do not make any sudden movements." The telescoping pole extended toward Wells, who was now visibly shaking. The moss around his foot had changed texture, becoming adhesive. Thin tendrils had begun to wrap around his ankle. Wells grabbed the pole. Reed activated the retraction mechanism, but the jungle wasn't surrendering its prize easily. The tendrils tightened. The nearby plants began to secrete a clear substance that steamed when it hit the ground. With a mighty pull, Reed yanked Wells free. The man fell back onto the path, screaming. His environmental boot had been dissolved, and his exposed skin was covered in angry red welts, but the jungle wasn't finished. The defensive response was accelerating. Plants along the edge began to pulse rhythmically. Spores erupted from flowering structures. The air filled with a sweet, cloying scent. "Run!" Reed commanded, helping Wells to his feet. "Everyone move. To extraction point Alpha. Now!" The group fled down the path as the jungle came alive around them. Vines snapped overhead. Flowers burst, releasing clouds of paralytic agents. The ground itself seemed to undulate beneath the path. They reached the extraction point, a circular platform 50 meters wide, just as the emergency shuttle descended. Reed counted heads as everyone boarded, all present. As the shuttle lifted, Reed looked down at the jungle. The defensive response had spread like a wave for nearly a kilometer in every direction. It would take months for the ecosystem to return to normal. In the medical bay, Wells was being treated for chemical burns and neurotoxin exposure. He would recover, but the scars would remain as a permanent reminder. Ambassador Fletcher approached. Reed, his earlier arrogance replaced by ashen-faced humility. "I've seen wars and negotiated peace between species that have hated each other for millennia," he said quietly. "But I've never seen anything like that." Reed nodded grimly. "That's why we never roam from the path, Ambassador. Humanity may have conquered the stars, but there are still places in this galaxy that don't belong to us. Places that can remind us how small we truly are." As the shuttle broke atmosphere, the jungle below returned to its peaceful state, patiently waiting for the next visitor to make the same fatal mistake.